Welcome to Hi-Fi. I'm Marcos, this is Kurt, and today we're having a look at the brand new Devialet Dione Soundbar. From their Expert Pro amps to the world-renowned Phantom all-in-one wireless speaker line, Devialet is known for radical, borderline controversial performance audio equipment. Pushing the boundaries yet again, Devialet has stepped into the soundbar segment of audio. At $3,200 Canadian, approximately $2,500 USD, the Dione is the most expensive soundbar in this category to date, and therefore stands alone. You're probably asking yourself, is it worth it? Let's get into it. The Dione features a full Dolby 5.1.2 ATMOS surround sound, 950 watts claimed RMS, 101 dB SPL,
claimed as well.
Claimed as well. It also has a whopping 17 drivers built in, featuring AirPlay 2, Bluetooth 5.0, HDMI ARC, and also an optical connection for your television as well. Its last feature would be its room calibration software.
I'm very impressed by the build quality of this. It also has like a really nice heft to it. One thing I like, I think this is aluminum, right? So it takes away from a lot of plastic that's used in a lot of sound bars, which it should be in especially in this price range. When I was setting up, though, actually in the nighttime, what I kind of found weird was it looks like this thing was just watching me. I don't know. It's kind of tripping me out. It reminded me of Sauron's eye in Lord of the Rings.
Nobody move! Nobody move! Does anybody see it? It might be stuck to a tree or a rock. Anyone? Oh, I am so grounded.
I do think the Devialet Dione does have definitely a premium aesthetic, as it should at this price range. The other fun thing about the eye that keeps following Kurt around at night is that you can orient its position to best suit its settings. So when you have it this way, it's meant to be vertically mounted to the wall. The nice part too, it mounts flush to the wall. Or if you have it downward, it's perfect on your credenza or mantle.
See, it was doing that by itself.
So initially when I took the Dione home to have a listen to it, I just set up HDMI ARC with my TV, and right out of the box, you open the Devialet app, and I found it was really nice and easy. It really guided you well through all the steps to set it up to your Wi-Fi network and to best suit your room as well. On HDMI ARC, there was no setup required. My TV automatically sensed that I was using an HDMI ARC, and it was, bam, there you go. Volume control with my TV remote, ready to go.
The only one thing is I thought the Bluetooth was a little bit quirky. Sometimes it wouldn't. I think it was kind of just stop, like it would almost drop out. But the good thing is, I'm pretty sure, and I hope they fix it as fast as possible, is Devialet can probably do an update to make it a little bit more seamless operation. And one thing I do like, it does have room correction. It's an easy room correction. It's like a single sweep, so you don't have to measure like 9 different sweeps. You can just measure the one, and you're done, which I think is sufficient enough for a soundbar.
One thing I did notice while using AirPlay with the Dione was that I wasn't able to select different EQ modes for like the spatial audio and different settings that they offer with the other inputs. And I'm wondering if I was missing something, or that's just the way they designed it.
One thing I always will say with Devialet is like they try to make a lot of big claims on their performance. And in this case, I would say it lived up to it. You know, I don't think they may exaggerate it as much as they sometimes do. And you will see that even in our measurements later. For what they're trying to do in this size package, I would say it's very difficult, and they really accomplished it.
I found the overall performance of the Dione was actually pretty surprising. Its off-axis response was really good. It our room, no problem. And we listened to it kind of in many different positions, and it really sounded great pretty much anywhere we sat.
In terms of bass, I'll say, again, giving the physical size of and how many drivers it has here, it definitely moves a lot of air. I was surprised how much it was able to fill up both the room upstairs and also down here, which is really difficult because most of these times you really gotta add a subwoofer to get a really full frequency range out of a soundbar.
We performed a classic dB test on the Devialet Dione. We performed a classic dB test on the Devialet Dione, and at around 65 decibels, normal talking level, I found the sound to be really clear, really easy to hear dialogue. I also thought the bass response was quite impressive for a small soundbar, even at lower volume levels.
Probably to do a lot with the room correction. When we tried it both on and off, it really did clear up, especially the vocals, because it took away some of that unwanted mid bass. So at the higher volume test, I would say normal long term, you're looking at about 75, I think, dBs comfortably. Remember, this is from 13 feet away, so that's a really good. That's still a really good result. Will peak at over 80 dBs, but I would say if you were to run over 80 dBs over a long period of time, from that listening position, it would be straining.
As usual, we listen to a wide variety of music and movies with the Dione, just to really kind of flush out what it can do and what we thought about it. One of the first tracks we listened to was Stephen Weston, a new kind of deep house track, Like I Used to, featuring Lapsy as well. I found the bass response from a soundbar was actually pretty amazing with the Dione. I did find like on the top end with the clarity was really nice. It was involving, right? And yeah, I thought it was really nice to listen to.
One thing that really stood out to me in this track is the way it just really spread the sound three-dimensionally. Usually, I always found sound bars, they kind of just stay within its realm instead of really projecting into this room. And they really did a really good job in the aspect. And again, what stood out for me this was the bass too. The amount of air that this thing can move and with that limited cabinet space is very impressive.
The second track we listened to was the complete opposite, Tsuyoshi Yamamoto Trio, which is kind of like a jazz blues trio. The song called Bye Bye Blackbird, and we just wanted to hear how it sounds with an acoustic instrument, right? So in this, there's kind of like your classic jazz trio, piano, double bass, maybe a horn. The piano is really clear and distinct with it. I didn't get like that incredible impact from hearing the lower notes on the piano, but I did find it still very involving.
One of the reasons why I want to listen to this track is to try something. What it would do if you're comparing it to almost like a separate, if you just put a little 2-channel system together. Yeah, of course we're not going to critique it in terms of soundstage and stuff because it's not really fair to do so. But just want to see the overall quality of it, and I think in here they did a really good job. And again, going back to the piano, so like that, it was really even everything from the weight and the strike and initially the attack and the sound of it. I think it did a good job again, considering that it's a sound bar. And there was some parts that you kind of mentioned, especially kind of in the more mid bass kind of frequencies. You can tell we're a little bit lighter than it should be, but overall, if you're going to use this for listening for music, I think it does a good job.
First thing we wanted to do when it came to movies was kind of hear what it would do with like an Atmos test track. So we listened to the weather test track from Dolby Atmos. It was pretty incredible the way it handled it. I found it did its sweeps really well from left to right. I did find like the lightning strike was pretty involving. The range sounded pretty accurate as well to me.
Because I heard this track so many times, I always use it to when I kind of test my own theater system. The most difficult for me was turning off that side of me used to listening to really big theaters, right? And whether I was setting them or not. So I'm gonna do my best to really separate that. When I say overall, like we said, when the lightning strikes, and it won't have that same feeling dynamics, but this is probably one of the better ones in terms of that. And considering it with no subwoofer, I don't think it gets much more than that in the time of scale and everything that this trailer really presented. I can't see anything else as a couple without having a subwoofer that will do exactly what this did.
When I had the Dione at home, I was watching some Netflix. One of the new shows called Taboo, and it's based kind of like in 1800s England. And it was pretty interesting to see how well the Dione sounded with the show. Like when they were on a ship, you could hear all the spatial effects going around, and you could hear like the cannonballs and the people screaming all around you. So it actually filled the room really well.
You basically, we're going to mention everything I said, how it was spatial and stuff like that. When I was watching Avengers on there, or some parts of it, one thing I always look for is how good the vocal quality is. Because a lot of times, even in a regular theater setup, it just seems like you're just not getting enough out of it. And I think the vocals, again, especially in the soundbar, it did a really good job. It still comes off as really clear. You don't have to feel like you got to crank it so high up and then turn it back down when the action hits, which is usually the case. And I think that's, I was looking for that, and I was pleased of his performance in that way.
When it came to finding comparisons for the Dione, it was actually really tough because there's no other soundbar currently on the market, even with a sub, that comes up to this price point of $3,200 Canadian. When it came to looking at different soundbars, from our experience, we have a few different brands such as Bowers & Wilkins, Blue Sound, Sonos, Samsung, and Bose.
So instead of comparing it to, for example, the Sonos Arc, the Bose, or even the Samsung, I don't think it makes sense to. I just go, they're not supposed to be in the same category. I don't think it's going to be a fair comparison. So what we'll do is I think we'll just take that out. And the two that I think we should talk about here is the Pulse soundbar that you're very familiar with, and made by Blue Sound, and also as well as the Bowers & Wilkins Formation. It would be nice, but I've never heard it. There's a Panorama soundbar that's out, but we haven't listened to that one, so we're not going to do any comparisons on that.
When it came to comparing the Dione to the Blue Sound Soundbar Plus and its matching Pulse sub, it was actually pretty interesting what both systems do. I found the setup wise, the Dione and the Blue Sound were pretty similar. I do kind of give the edge to Blue Sound because just the way you can pair the sub is very easy. The way navigating the app is really easy as well, so I quite like that. The other thing with Blue Sound, I found it's a really reliable product. It always works, no problems at all.
I've always thought, especially in musical performance, that the Blue Sound with the Pulse sub, it was always an excellent performer. I would say price-wise, it's pretty close, but quality-wise, I would say they really are on par when it comes to that. One thing I did notice, or the difference, is that when it came to, say, movies, because the one thing is that this is a kind of a full, complete ATMOS soundbar, that it's the Pulse won't sound as room filling, and that whole sense of spatial awareness, and kind of when you're watching that show, you can really hear things kind of all around you, kind of giving you that more immersive experience. That's where this, I would say, the strength of that one comes in.
Mm. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Bowers-Wilkins formation system, unfortunately, I'm not really familiar with it. I haven't really had any time listening to one, so I'm not going to chime in on that comparison.
Now, I'll say compared to the formation in terms of again going back to quality and clarity of the musical and say for music, I think it's pretty comparable. I would say that this still has a slight edge, and I think it should be considering the price point. Also keep in mind with the formation too, it's really sleek, right? So I think in some applications, some houses, as opposed to putting this vertical, some people are going to also prefer, obviously, the looks of it. When it came for the movies, again, this, just like again comparing to the Pulse, this is just a lot more immersive sounding. Like the Bowers, it filled the room really well, but it's still always kind of, I always feel soundbars sit in its kind of same bubble. With this one, this has just the ability to really throw out the sound. For those that just don't want to add a subwoofer, because both the Pulse and the Bowers is, if you really want to get full range sub, you need that subwoofer. Like it's a must if you want that bass. However, with this is the only one of the very few so far that I can comfortably say it's still, it's never bad to have more extension of bass, but I think this is one of the first time I can say you really don't need it.
When it came to measuring the Dione, I was actually pretty surprised on how well the room equalization turned that frequency response extremely linear. Yeah.
One thing I really wanted to see is how low that bass was going to go. I know when I was talking to the guys at one of the guys at DVLA before they shipped it out, he said that it was going to go maybe below 40, kind of in that 40 hertz range. Surprisingly, it did. When you take a look at on the graph here, you will see. Also, please note that you'll see that bump in there. That was something. We're getting some kind of noise through the Bluetooth or something like that was causing this spiking a little, that unwanted spike. So just pay attention to it and just know that it really does reach in that 40 hertz. And again, to move that much air with that many drivers in here, I think is a very impressive result.
We really recommend the Dione for anybody that has like a small room all the way up to a pretty big size room as well. We found it filled the space extremely well. Maybe in the future, since it's Devialet, they may come out with a sub that would even make it sound really good in a really big room as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish they had. Just they did have a subwoofer out for any subwoofer. Would be one thing that I would say. So if you have a really big room, I would just say it's probably not suited for that. And also to the room correction. So even if you have a smaller room, because it has that, and we tried it, it's really well controlled because of that room EQ.
Thanks for watching our video today on the new Devialet Dione. If you have any questions about it, let us know in the comments. Or if you already got one, let us know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, let's go.